Kevin, first of all, midweek you had Nathan Blissett come off early and a concern as well over Dan Lavercombe. Nathan Blissett, first of all, fitness-wise, he's obviously scored a lot of goals lately. How is he doing?
He's okay. He won't be available for Saturday, but it's not bad. He came off as a precaution before he did any real damage. So I'm hoping it's only going to be a few days, but we've got Lawsy looking after him, and it's still only 48 hours after it, so it's still a little bit early to tell for sure.
Hamstring injuries are always a little bit iffy, aren't they?
Yeah, but it was more fatigue, I think, than anything else. He played a lot of football in a short space of time that he's not used to.
How much of a blow could that be to the goals, bearing in mind his goals have been so key in the last month or so?
Not at all. We've got Andre who came on and did great. You've got Sean up there. You've got Verma back available. So, no, Bliss has done great for us, and he'll be back sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, you've got some other good players that have now got a chance to stake their claim.
Dan Lavercombe, you said, had a bit of a groin niggle during the game, and you toyed with possibly taking him off at half-time. How is Dan?
Still waiting on the report on that one. He's actually gone up to Wigan to get a scan. So we're waiting. We'll find that out, annoyingly for you guys, soon after this interview.
Very annoying for us guys, but I mean, you look at that, and obviously, whereas you have a bit of experience up front, so to speak, to replace Nathan Blissett, Grant Fisher and Scott Corderoy, with the greatest respect to them, don't have the same sort of experience that Dan has.
No, but we'll cross that bridge if we have to.
Would you have any qualms at all about picking one of those guys? Bearing in mind that their kind of lack of experience at this level.
No, they've put the work in. If they need to play on Saturday, then they can play.
Fair enough. And when you look at the side now, and obviously you had a draw against Braintree, which obviously is a very creditable result. They're up there in the playoff places. You're still unbeaten in 5 matches, but that winning run kind of came to an end. Any concerns about that?
No, we weren't at it really against Braintree until the second half. What the lads need to realise is that people keep talking about runs. It's not about runs, it's about each game as it comes. We haven't achieved anything. We've won a few games, but it'll count for nothing if we don't go into the Aldershot game 100% focused on what we can do. They've had a lot of praise, and they need to make sure they don't listen to it, because it's nowhere near done. We've got a mountain to climb still to make sure that we get where we want to get. It's achievable. We know how to do it. We know we're a good team when we're on it. And in the second half against Braintree, we gave them a good going over and maybe should have won it. But we can't start games and play halves of football like we did in the first half at Braintree. And I think partly that's down to myself and the people around, because there was a lot of talk about how, well, you've won 4 in a row and Braintree's a free game and all that. That's rubbish. Any game that we go into, I expect us to go into with the plan to go and win it, and at full steam and not holding back. And our first half performance looked like a group of lads that knew that it might be okay to lose this one because we've done all right, and that's not acceptable. So we had a chat about it this morning. I think they got the point, and we go on to Aldershot now.
So in some ways, not winning a 5th game in a row could be advantageous, because it gets your feet back on the ground. You realise how difficult the job still is. When if you've taken 15 points from 15, perhaps people would have got a little bit more relaxed.
Maybe, but I keep saying it. It is quite literally very boring, very cliched, one game at a time. It is, and Aldershot is the next one we can affect. So therefore, it's the biggest of the season. I don't want to talk about runs, because until we secure mathematically our safety in this division, it doesn't matter. There's going to be some tough weekends still to come. There's going to be some tough games to come, but we are capable of beating anyone in this league. The squad we've got now, the character that we've got, the attitude, all that stuff is capable. If we do the basics better than anybody else, we'll win games against anyone. But if we go out like we did in the first half with that, or the second half at Kidderminster with that confident, relaxed, over the top type of attitude, we'll get hurt, because that's what football does, and that's certainly what this league does.
Yeah. Let's look at Aldershot then. Beaten 8-2 in their last game against Chester. Is that a good thing, or is that a bad thing for you?
It's completely irrelevant.
Really, because if a team had been beaten 8-2, you would think that their confidence would be low, and that you would be able to take advantage of that.
Possibly, or they might come out flying because they need to react for their manager and their club. So it's totally irrelevant. Their last result is about as important as our last result. Absolutely not at all. What matters is what we do when we go to their place on Saturday, how we set ourselves about doing the job that we need to do, and if we can grind them down and if we can do the basics better than them, then hopefully our good footballers and our match winners will come forward and we'll see where we are at 5 o'clock.
Does it, in some ways, I guess you have them scouted and you will get your scouting reports and what have you on Aldershot. Does it make that scouting mission a little bit more difficult in a way? Because if they would have lost 1-0 or 2-0, you know, it would have been kind of a normal kind of scouting report, so to speak. When they concede 8 goals, I'm guessing it must be a bit different.
No, not really. You still see what players are about. You see the players that stood up to it. You see the players that wilted. You see the good things and the bad things that they do. And you don't just base it on one game. You go back and have a look at their formations, their squads, the scouting reports that you have over the last 5 or 6 games before you start to formulate anything. So, no, like I say, we've done our homework. We know what we're going to go into. We know that Aldershot is a nice pitch. It's a nice place to play generally. They've got a great following. They're always a pretty loud bunch there. We've got to keep them quiet and we've got to concentrate on what we're going to do.
Finally, from me, you've been here in the past when you had a very close rivalry with Aldershot in this league, going back probably 6 or 7 years now, I suppose. Does it mean anything more to you? Because you will have those memories of vying with them for the what was the conference title under Paul Buckle?
No, not at all. It's another club that stands in our way of trying to get 3 points, and whether I've had some good times or bad times against them in the past, again, is irrelevant. It's my team now that's going to go out there and hopefully stamp their authority on the game and come out on top.